If you have hyperpigmentation, whether that's melasma, post-inflammatory dark spots from acne, or marks that just won't fade, this is for you. And here's the thing. Most people treating dark spots are only addressing one part of what's actually happening, one stage of a three-stage process, which is why most spot-clearing routines don't work. Today, we're going to talk about all three stages, what they are, what triggers them, and which ingredients interrupt each one. And I promise, by the end of this, the way you think about hyperpigmentation is going to be completely different. This is part one, the system. Part two is the ingredients, what the evidence actually says works for our skin specifically. And if you are pregnant or planning to be, you don't want to miss this one. That one's next week. Welcome, everybody, to the Black Skin Science Podcast. I'm Alex.
And I'm Sam.
Over here, we talk about all things skin science built specifically for Black and brown skin. If you're new, follow us wherever you listen. On YouTube, please subscribe and drop us a comment. It's a free way to support our show. All right, let's get into it.
Here we go.
So, dark spots, melasma, PIH. What is actually happening inside the skin when these form? It starts with one cell, the melanocyte. This is the pigment factory of your skin. It lives in the base layer of the epidermis, and its entire job is to produce melanin, the pigment that gives our skin its color. And here's the first thing most people don't know. Every person on Earth has roughly the same number of these cells. Black skin, white skin, doesn't matter. Same count. The difference is in what those cells do.
Right, so the cells in darker skin are more active. They produce more melanin. They package it into larger structures that spread out more individually through the surrounding cells. That's actually what creates the even, deep tone. It's not a flaw. It's the system working exactly as designed. Now, on the flip side, more active also means more reactive. A small trigger, a breakout, friction, heat, and those factories respond harder and faster than they would in lighter skin. More pigment, more visible, lasts longer. Which is why the same breakout that leaves a faint pink mark on lighter skin leaves a dark spot that can last months on ours. Same trigger, completely different outpoint. Not a flaw, the same system doing the same job, just more vigorously.
And it's exactly why you can't just take a routine that was designed for a different skin biology and expect it to work the same way. The system is different, so the strategy has to be different. Okay, so the melanocyte is the starting point. But what makes a dark spot form is not a single moment. It's a sequence, 3 stages. And this is where it gets interesting. Something triggers the melanocyte, the factory, and it starts producing melanin. That's stage 1, production. That pigment then gets packaged up and handed off into the surrounding skin cells where it becomes visible. That's stage 2, transfer. And then it sits on the surface as a dark spot until those skin cells shed. That's stage 3, deposition. Production, transfer, deposition. Each one can be interrupted. Each one has specific tolls. And the reason comprehensive routines work and single ingredient routines often don't is because you have to hit more than one of these.
And before we go into ingredients that interrupt each one thing that goes underneath all 3 of them: sunscreen.
Sunscreen.
I know, we're going to say it 50 more times across this series, but the reason it goes here, before stage 1 even, is that UV is one of the most reliable everyday triggers for the entire system. Every morning without SPF, you're resetting stage 1 before your actives have had a chance to do anything. And it goes further than just UV burning. UV generates free radicals. These are unstable molecules that damage skin cells and trigger inflammation. And inflammation is a stage 1 trigger too. So UV is hitting you twice, direct trigger and inflammatory trigger, at the same time.
You could be using the best active ingredients in the world at night. And if you walk out every morning without SPF, you're not going to see the results you want. SPF 30 or higher, broad spectrum, every single morning. Full episode on sunscreen is coming later in this series. For now, it is the non-negotiable foundation. Everything else sits on top of it. All right, stage 1 is production, and it all comes down to one switch. There's an enzyme, tyrosinase. When something flips it on, the factory starts producing melanin. When you block it, production slows. That's the entire game at stage 1. Keep the switch off. What flips it? Those triggers we already talked about. UV, inflammation like a breakout, friction, irritation, heat. And here's what a lot of people don't realize. UV and inflammation flip that switch the exact same way. Same pathway, same output. The factory doesn't know whether it was a sunburn or a pimple, it just got the signal to produce.
Which is actually kind of useful from a treatment perspective, because it means one category of ingredient, tyrosinase inhibitors, covers both triggers. You're not treating UV damage and inflammation separately. You're interrupting the same switch regardless of what flipped it. The slowdown crew, as Alex and I call them, they get in there and tell the factory to calm down.
Yep, the slowdown crew. This is where hydroquinone, azelaic acid, tranexamic acid, vitamin C, arbutin, kojic acid, retinoids all live. Niacinamide also has some impact here, all targeting the same switch, all slowing stage 1. But here's the thing. If stage 1 is the only thing you're treating, you're only fixing a third of the problem because the pigment that's already been made, right? It's still moving.
Stage 2 is transfer. And this is the step that almost nobody talks about. The melanin has been made, but it's still sitting inside the melanocyte, the factory. For it to become a visible dark spot on your skin, it has to travel. The factory packages it up and hands it off to the surrounding skin cells, and that handoff is its own process with its own interruption points. And niacinamide, also part of the slowdown crew, but shines here, physically blocks that courier handoff right here at stage 2. It's not bleaching, it's not stripping pigment, it's blocking a delivery, which is why you use it alongside a stage 1 ingredient, not instead of one.
And retinoids work at stage 2 as well.
Actually, retinoids are the only ingredient that works at all 3 stages, which is why every time someone asks me what the single most important ingredient in a hyperpigmentation routine is, it's retinoids. It's always retinoids for me.
Yeah, that's my go-to as well.
But, and this matters for our skin specifically, they have to be introduced slowly. Because retinoids cause irritation, and irritation causes inflammation, and inflammation sends you straight back to stage 1. Most powerful tool on the list, most patients required to use correctly.
So, factory slowed at stage 1, couriers blocked at stage 2, but what about everything that already got delivered? That's stage 3.
Stage 3 is deposition. The pigment made it all the way through. It's visible on the surface, and the only way it naturally fades is cell turnover. Old cells shed, new ones come up, the dark spot goes with the old cells. Problem is, that process is slow. On our skin, a dark spot can take months to clear on its own. So the treatment logic at stage 3 is simple. Speed up the turnover, get those cells shedding faster. And this is where I see, and where I have personally made, the most common mistake.
What did you do?
PIH on my jawline. Used a glycolic peel. Totally standard recommendation. You'll find it in half the skincare guides out there. 3 weeks later, the spot was darker and wider. Classic rebound. Glycolic acid is the smallest AHA, penetrates fastest, and on reactive skin, which is exactly what we have, that speed triggers irritation, irritation triggers inflammation, inflammation goes back to stage 1, fresh round of pigment production. Mandelic acid is the safer starting point for stage 3 on our skin. About twice the molecular size of glycolic, penetrates slower, gets to the same result without tripping the irritation loop. And retinoids, they normalize turnover rather than forcing it. Slower, more sustainable, less irritation risk.
Mandelic and retinoids are your stage 3 tools. Glycolic isn't banned forever, but it is not where you start. And never layer a retinoid and an acid on the same night. That's asking for a rebound.
Right. Take a phased approach to introducing these ingredients. Alternate nights. Give your skin time to adjust. We're going to dive deeper on exfoliation in another episode. For now, go slower than you think you need to.
One more layer to this. Sometimes you may need solutions beyond what an over-the-counter routine can reach. Prescription-strength retinoids, high-concentration hydroquinone, those require a dermatologist. In-clinic treatments like peels, microneedling, laser can accelerate stage 3 significantly when topicals alone aren't moving the pigment.
But for our skin specifically, these procedures carry real risk if the practitioner doesn't have specific experience treating darker skin types. A peel that is safe on lighter skin can trigger the exact pigmentation you're trying to clear on ours, and so experienced hands matter more for our skin than they do for lighter skin types.
If you are dealing with persistent or severe hyperpigmentation, that clinical conversation is worth having. This is not an exhaustive list, but every ingredient you'll ever hear recommended for dark spots, melasma, or PAH, it fits somewhere on this map. Now you know where it fits, and you know why.
And one thing before part 2, because this is important. Targeting all 3 stages is the goal, but how you target them matters as much as what you use. Some of these ingredients cannot go on at the same time, some need to be introduced one at a time. Stack the wrong combination and you don't get compounded results, you get a damaged barrier. A damaged barrier triggers inflammation, and inflammation sends you back to stage 1. This is not a throw-everything-at-it situation. It is a designed routine, staged, strategic, patient.
I'll add, I'm still managing PIH. I know the system, I know the ingredients. It still requires patience. Every time I want to know faster than the skin cycle allows, I come back to what Sam just said. Phased, not stacked. The map doesn't make it instant. It makes it make sense, and that's actually the more valuable thing. So, now you have the system, 3 stages, the tools that interrupt each one, the foundation underneath all of them. Here's where most people stop, and where part 2 begins. Knowing you need a stage 1 ingredient is one thing. Knowing which specific one the clinical evidence supports for black and brown skin, that is a completely different conversation. Not all of them perform equally on our biology. Some that are considered the gold standard carry real risks for darker skin with long-term use. And some that barely get mentioned in mainstream content turn out to be the strongest evidence-based options we actually have. And part 2 gives you the routine structure on top of that, not just the list, the order, the timing, the pairing rules, what's safe and what isn't if you're pregnant or planning to be, because the ingredient list changes significantly, and the vehicles that actually get the actives where they need to go, toners, essences, serums, because the same ingredient in the wrong vehicles is doing a fraction of the job. So you know exactly how to build toward hitting all 3 stages without breaking your barrier in the process. Next episode, the ingredients, the evidence, the structure for our skin specifically.
All right, if this was useful, follow us wherever you listen. On YouTube, like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe. And if you know someone who has been buying products for years with no results, share this episode with them. That's exactly who it's for.
Thank you for being here. We'll catch you in the next one.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.